Hey guys, this is Wisconsin, Illinois Rail Fanning, and welcome back to another episode of Traffic Lights of Beloit. Today, we'll be talking about the Riverside Drive and Henry Avenue intersection. I chose this intersection to be really early on in the series due to the fact that this intersection has a lot of history behind it, and it was honestly one of my favorite reconstructions of an intersection in Beloit at that time. The brief history about this intersection: Riverside Drive and Henry Avenue is two of Beloit's most used intersections, with Riverside Drive being a highway that goes to that's with US 51. This is what the intersection looked like in 2007. It basically looked like any other intersection in the state of Wisconsin before any of the new upgrades. It's basically the same as what it looked like now in a previous picture, but this time the overhead signals, which are now, which in this video or in this photo, were on the other side of the intersection with the left turn signals. This intersection was also one of Beloit's intersections that had a cycle where anybody who's in a left turn lane, no matter who is in it, is going to get the green arrow, and it's only going to do a green arrow cycle. This is what the other side looked like, which is basically the same. There was only one crosswalk on each side. Not there was only one crosswalk going on to the bike path with one crosswalk signal. This will be crucial in the later on in the video when I talk about it. As you can also see, the road was pretty. Riverside Boulevard also had this kind of like highway on ramp that goes onto Henry Avenue that goes onto the bridge. The bridge at the time was a one-lane road. In 2011, the intersection was upgraded to what it is now. They end up changing the cycle and just the looks of the traffic light to give it the original black pole traffic light that we'll always see in Beloit. I wish they had pictures of what this intersection looked like before they put up the new traffic lights, because there was obviously a temporary traffic lights at the time. I remember looking at it as a kid and how cool it looked, and I always called it the Illinois style traffic lights because the way they looked, they also because the way they looked, they had a they had two traffic lights that were a left turn signal and a regular straight signal with a right turn signal that was sitting right there before they started constructing on the bridge. Obviously, they end up changing the road and repaving the road a little bit to take away all the cracks, which was pretty good for Beloit drivers who didn't want to drive over potholes all the time. I mentioned how they were reconstructing the bridge. This bridge is called the Hendricks Memorial Bridge in honor of Ken Hendricks, who is the husband of Diane Hendricks. If you live in Beloit, I'm sure you know who he is and who she is. Hell, if you even live in the United States, I'm sure you probably heard Diane Hendricks before, as she is one of the richest women in the country. They end up changing the over or how you get on the intersection as if there's still a traffic light right there. There's a traffic light sitting right there with another traffic light that's sitting on the side of this left turn signal. I mentioned how there was a cycle difference when it came to the intersection. Well, that's because they end up changing the cycle to what I think really should be on every single traffic light, to where if there's a car on the line, like say right here, obviously that side would get the green arrow. Before, it wasn't like that. Another thing I talked about was how there was a lack of pedestrian crossings and stuff like that. Well, this project, they made sure it changed. As you can see, there's a crosswalk signal on every side of the traffic light now. Along with the additional crosswalks, they end up putting crosswalk buttons in the middle of each of the medians. Only on Riverside Boulevard, though. With the bridge being constructed, this was obviously more to come. This is what it looks like in 2013. There's a lot of major differences here. Remember all the trees that were all over here in the first picture? Well, obviously they planted different ones and cut down a lot of them so they can make room putting a sidewalk there. They also constructed this City of Beloit Riverside Park sign, which goes on with both a sidewalk and a bike path that goes around Riverside Park. This is honestly unrelated with the construction, but they end up adding this cool eclipse center. I'm only bringing this up because I remember when I was little and they first built this, my mom said there was a waterfall now, and I was confused because it's like there's no like waterfall in Beloit, even at Big Hills Park. But then I saw that this was just a cool little fountain that they had that says Eclipse Center, because that building up top right there is the Eclipse Center. Going into 2015, there's obviously no difference other than the fact that this traffic light right here doesn't have lights on it. Well, it's a tradition here in Beloit that we run over the traffic lights. So obviously that's what happened with this one. Going into 2018, obviously there's really no more much of a difference. And that's really about it. Riverside Boulevard was one of those intersections that honestly I always found cool. But yeah, this is basically another basic intersection that I decided to do. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on another episode of The Traffic Lights of Beloit.